Let's bring in Katie Pavlich, townhall.com editor, and Robert Wolf, former economic advisor to President Obama and 32 Advisors founder and CEO. Both are Fox News contributors. Great to have both of you here. Welcome. Robert, do you share these concerns about the blue wall?
I obviously share the concerns, but Martha, you and I have been speaking since the night of the debate with Biden, and I think since that day, I have said Trump will win, including after the Democratic convention and including after the debate. I am now switching my view. I think Kamala is in a better situation. She has more pathways to 270. I just spent the weekend in Philadelphia. I'm a data guy. I've been in finance for 40 plus years. And it just seems to me that based on what I'm seeing away from just the blue wall, whether it's in North Carolina and Nevada, I actually think if it was today, she would win. And I also
so are you
think
saying that you believe she will hold Pennsylvania, Michigan, excuse me for interrupting, and Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin?
Yep.
She holds all three, in your opinion?
I think she definitely holds Michigan and Wisconsin. I think today she would win Pennsylvania. But if she lost Pennsylvania, I think she could also win North Carolina and Nevada. That makes up for Pennsylvania. And the major part is she's doing better on the economy. Even though the president's up, he was up 15 points on the economy. He's up single digits now on the economy. And if you look at the jobs market, you look at wages, the stock market, actually the wind's been pretty much at the vice president's back the last month. So I just have a change of view of where I think this election's going to end up.
Okay. You know, Katie, you go by the gut and the feel of how things are right now. Here's Harry Enton talking about Harris's polling among independents. We'll get your thoughts on the other side.
Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, the Great Lakes, that blue wall, right? Joe Biden last time around won him by 5 points over Donald Trump. Look at where we are today. This is the type of movement Donald Trump likes to see in the center of the electorate, up by a point.
Katie, your thoughts?
Well, the wind has not been at the back of the vice president. She's only gone down in her polling since she's been more out in front of the American people trying to make her case, which tends to be different depending on the audience she's talking to. But when we're looking at the blue wall, Martha, I went back to 2016 because the last person who did not secure the blue wall as a Democrat was Hillary Clinton. And she is out there today trying to make the case for Kamala Harris to be the next president. But if you look at the reasons why Hillary Clinton was not able to hold on to Michigan, Wisconsin, the blue wall, is because she lost blue-collar workers, white workers, and she was unable to keep her base together, specifically among young voters and African-American voters. You're seeing the same thing playing out right now with Kamala Harris in those states. And her message today, combined with what the White House is seemingly coming to the rescue on, is that Trump is a fascist, that he's too dangerous to be the president. She's not talking about the economy. She's trying to make this about character and a choice between two people with different personalities rather than on a record that she still has not defined.
Well, you know, here's another headline from today, Robert, and I want to get your thoughts on what Katie just said. But the headline in Politico, don't let Trump's buzzy sideshows distract you from his traditional swing state strategy. And it breaks down what they see as a very big concentration of time in Pennsylvania by both Trump and also J.D. Vance. So they're saying when he's going to other places like California, and this weekend he'll be at Madison Square Garden, he is looking to generate enthusiasm. Certainly the McDonald's stop was a big win for him this week. And that is, I think, why you see some of the momentum in gut feeling heading in his direction. So how does Harris, you know, bring back that joy that we saw coming out of the convention?
Yeah, so a few things. I'm not here discounting President Trump. I mean, this is a flip of a coin race. I just think that today there are more pathways for Vice President Harris. So just for clarity. Secondly, with the blue wall, you can't even compare the two plans. The plan of former President Trump is one of isolationist nationalism. He lost manufacturing jobs. We could debate that all day, who has a better plan for that. That's why Wall Street Journal, when after he gave his plan, he talked about this idea of deer in headlights. No disrespect, Kate, I've been in finance and business for 40 years. You've been in politics.
Well, hold on.
And by the way, when we talked about
Trump is still ahead in terms of what viewers feel. I mean, voters say they experienced during the Trump. presidency.
I'm the one that said that he's still ahead, but it's eroded from 15% down to 9%. And when they both gave a plan on manufacturing, the Wall Street Journal hammered President Trump's plan, hammered it. They called it like a deer in headlights. They did, and they actually said Vice President Kamala's plan was friendlier to business.
Well, Katie,
that's your Wall Street Journal.
I'll let you respond to it. I understand that's the Wall Street Journal. I just see what regular folks seem to be thinking and feeling and saying across the country. And I'm not sure they care too much, what the Wall Street Journal's opinion is. But, we're going to see that on Election Day. Katie.
Well, with all due respect to Robert, I'm someone who grew up in a blue-collar small business, so I understand how business works as well, from the level of people working very difficult in difficult jobs that take a lot of work. And you're seeing a number of people in Michigan pushing back against Kamala Harris's plans to destroy the auto industry through her mandates of these electric vehicles, which she says she was for. Now she's against it. She's for it again. They say they will destroy their jobs there. And the tax plans that she's tried to implement will also make business harder for small businesses like the one that I grew up in. So with all due respect, I think we both
Katie,
have our experiences that we can speak to when it comes to this race.
That's just not accurate. We've had a factory boom. We have, the Foxconn plant that everyone talked about in Wisconsin.
Why is it that Kamala Harris didn't get the UAW endorsement, Robert? What about the union endorsement that didn't come through for Kamala Harris?
Listen,
why isn't she getting that endorsement?
Listen,
They've been endorsing Democrats for years after years.
You know what? Well, what we are seeing...
There will be unions that support her, and there will be unions that don't support her.
Right, but there are a couple of very big unions that do not support her, that did not support anyone in this race. But I find what's more interesting, and we got to go, is what the workers at these plants think and feel. It's not so much about what the bosses are saying and who they're endorsing as it is about the everyday folks in terms of who they're actually going to vote for.
Their wages are up 22%. I'm with you.
From a very low point post-COVID. And many of them remember what they had in the last administration and are telling us when we ask them and go out and poll and listen to people that they feel like they were better off then. I don't know. None of us know how this is going to go. And I think it's so interesting that both campaigns are expressing so much caution. Former President Trump is very superstitious. He's like, I'm not talking about anything post-election. I want to wait and see what happens. So we thank you both, as always.
He threw that salt right over his shoulder at McDonald's.
All right. We'll go to that. Robert Wolf, Katie Pavlich, thank you. See you guys soon.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.